So I was just thinking about how like growing up with my parents. One of my favorite memories was spending time with my dad because like he's a writer, right? Um and I was a writer too. Well, at least like I was more often than I would write creative stories. And one of my favorite memories of spending time with my dad was um like was when he would anyway, I organized he was always working, he was always busy working, right? So I organized a thing, like I was saying, okay, you gotta spend time with me and my sibling for at least like 20 minutes every week or something. Just body, this is just the best of my recollection. My memory is not completely accurate, just like anyone else. And from my point of view, it's like, oh, what? Oh my gosh. So I was like, okay, fine. You have to spend 20 minutes with us, at least just starting this week. See how it goes. We'll take it from there. Right? And then he's like, what? What do I talk about? And I was like, well, anything. I was like, like whatever we like. Like my sibling, I know they like anime. Well, we both like anime. Right? So I was like, okay, you could talk about that. You could watch a TV show together, or literally just whatever, or talk about drawings that I did in my sketchbook. You see what I'm saying? And then so he met with my sibling, and then it was my turn. And then I was so excited. You don't know. I was so excited to show him my writing, and I think he did. He might have talked about his writing too. Like I'm not sure, because at the time, he was working on something, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy. Like I share my writing with my dad. And then like he read. He's like, oh yeah, this is good. It's just I don't know. It was just a special kind of pride. And ooh, sorry, I have something in my eye. Anyway, I was so excited, right? And then I was thinking to myself, oh, I should probably be facing the light more, but it's okay. Anyway, so what was I saying? That was really a really happy time for me. But then I was thinking to myself, like, the audacity, like the outrageousness that I had to go and schedule that. You know what I'm saying? Like you should not have to pencil in yourself into your father's schedule, right? And look, I completely understand, number one, that parents gotta work, excuse me, to have money to feed their kids, the provider, the roof over the table, roof over your head, food on the table. I get that. However, there's two versions of this, okay? Parents can be either physically absent, number one, don't mind that. Number two, they can also be emotionally absent. It's not just the one. So that's why sometimes parents tell themselves, okay, I stuck around when my dad did not. And look, that's good. That's great. Like, I guess, if we really gotta recognize it, perhaps like that's an accomplishment for the parent themselves. But that is not an accomplishment to the child, or for the child's point of view. The child don't see like how much you work, At least like that's what I didn't focus on in my case. What I noticed is like how much are you actually here. It's kind of like you gotta do both as a parent. You really gotta balance both. You cannot do just one or just the other. You gotta provide for your kid, but you also gotta emotionally provide for them, be connected to them in that way. It's not just it's not just physical or financial providence, that matters. You really gotta do both. And before I do too much discreditation on behalf of my own point, like I do understand, like, that there's a lot of things parents go through that kids will never know. But I mean, it's your job as a parent to make sure your kid is not navigating things alone. Anyway. So that's what I was thinking about today while I was like eating my food. Is also that like this model of parenting seems okay, like just financial resource based parenting. It seems okay because especially when you look back, like you trace your roots or your ancestry, and I don't mean that far back, I just mean like your grandparents or whatever. That's how my dad, not my dad, sorry, that's how my mom or people in my family were raised. Like it's like the parent is like the big bad, like the big bad wolf must always be obeyed, right? Oh, sorry, I didn't explain the context for that point. Was that one time me and my brother, I see you reading like these psychology books, right? Like the parenting books, how to be a good father, whatever. And we're like, hey, you can like just talk to us, right? Just ask us, right? And then he was upset because he was like, "What? I'm the parent. If anything, um, if anything, like it should be the other way around. I don't know, just something ego based or pride based." He has said, right? And that it just reminded me that honestly, that reaction makes sense, even though it's not the one I would have wanted. It makes sense because that's how my parents were raised. That the parent is basically like totalitarian ruler. Like, we're not your little friend. Do what they say. Be the servant. Be grateful you was even like burst into the world. That kind of thing. So it's like when you trace it back, it makes sense. I understand, but at the same time, it's not correct. Like it's not good for the kids' emotional well-being. Like even though I understand that parents often provide what they didn't have, right? And they think that's enough for the child. But it's not the same thing because whatever I needed as a kid is not the same as what my dad needed as a kid, right? So unfortunately, say for example, me when I was growing up, just for example, say I really wish I had toys to play with. I didn't have no toys to play with, and I felt really sad about that, right? So when I have a daughter, I make sure she has all the toys she could ever want, and she has her own playroom, and she has all these play dates, everything. But then she could grow up and turn around and say, "Hey, mom, the toys, that's great and all, but I really wanted quality time with you, or I really wanted to share meals with you, or I really wanted to have advice from you." You see what I'm saying? Things like that. A parent, I guess the subconscious thing is to satisfy your own wound, you know? But just remember, your own wound is not the same as the child's need. So you as a parent, you may be addressing what you needed as a kid. However, unfortunately, that's not the same as what your kid needs as a kid. You know what? Because it's like when you have kids, it's kind of it's an opportunity to kind of revisit your own childhood. I don't know how to say this, but revisit your childhood both through yourself and through your child. You see what I'm saying? So that's why, this is just my theory. That's why sometimes it's there's a parent who thinks they did such a good job because they're like, "I provided you what I never had. I moved the earth for you." And it's like, no, sorry, bub, you moved the earth for you, not for me. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of a misplaced thing. I don't have the words, but it's a misplaced thing. It heals what the parent needed, but that's not what the child needed. So it's two different things, yeah. So I guess that's it for now.